vote Emily? I don't know. Can you vote Emily though? Where are we sitting, Alicia? Oh, let's go this way. And then no, I was already walking. Thanks though. Thank you. Thank you though.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome you all to the annual district budget meeting for MSAD 52. I'm Carrie Med, the superintendent, and very proud to be here serving the students and staff of this district. Sorry, I have a script, and please be gentle. This is the first time running a budget meeting, and I want to make sure that I do it right. I'd like to introduce the school board members who are here with us tonight. They're in alphabetical order, but they're not seated that way. I ran out of organization on that. Crystal Barris, Tammy Farashedian, Jamie Johnson, Joe McLean, Brooke Netto, Jessica Nichols, Kyle Carrington, Peter Ricker, Anthony Shostak, and our student representative, Sydney Bullard. And also joining us at the table is Assistant Superintendent. So I'd like to invite you all to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before we start with nominations for the moderator, I would like just to provide a little bit of information about the budget. I won't take a lot of time, but the budget is complicated and there is a big increase on the local side, so I think it's important for people to understand that. Hopefully everybody has been able to grab a budget book, that you have it with you, and certainly we're happy to answer questions. So I won't read all this to you, but I just want you to be reminded, if you were a citizen or a staff member who participated in developing the strategic plan for the district, we are still using that plan to guide our work. It was developed in 2019, and it is part of what we do in terms of making decisions about what are the next directions for the district. I want to provide a little bit of context. This data here is from FY22. You can find this on the Department of Education website. It just provides you with a sense of where we are in the spending that we have in this district per pupil in comparison to area districts around us. So the blue bar is what the state averages, which is $17,900, about $18,000. And the green bar is SAD 52. We spend about $16,290. So this again is FY22 numbers. The FY23 numbers where we are now aren't available until the year is closed out. What I've given for comparisons, Lewiston and Auburn spend less than us, but then other area schools, RSU 16, which is Pullman, Mine, and Mechanic Falls, RSU 2, 4, 73, they are spending slightly more than us. I always like to put in a little bit of an outlier district in Cumberland County. SAD 51, which is Greeley High School, spends $20,000 on their students. So just to give you some context for around the state. When I started as superintendent, there was a lot of concern about the number of students who had withdrawn from the district during COVID, and that was something that was a concern because the amount of money we get to the state is directly tied to the number of students we have. So this year, we saw a rebound. The lowest number we had for 2021 was 1,927 students. We're back in close to 2,000, 1,982 this year in the October 1 count. So you can see that we're sort of back to that steady, very close to 2,000 kids for this district going back to 2013. So that's a good sign for us and the district in terms of not only just serving the kids in the community, but also funding. Another big factor in the decisions we made this year in the budget is the makeup of our staff. If you read the news or pay attention, you know that there's a big changeover happening amongst teachers, not just in Maine, but around the country, in terms of teachers either leaving the profession or retiring, maybe retiring a little bit earlier than they may have, and so us welcoming in new, inexperienced teachers. So we we have the highest number we've seen in a long time. 18% of our teaching force has less than 3 years of experience. So they're great and they're energetic, but they also require more support than a teacher who has a lot of experience. And so some of the work we did in the budget is about supporting them so that when you send your children to the classrooms, that your kids have a good experience. So these are small, but you have these numbers in your budget book, so it's just the same chart that's available. So it's just as a summary, the budget is up 7.36%. When I look at the town budgets and other budgets around us, that number is not, it's high for normal times, but for the times that we're in with inflation and those kinds of things, it's higher than we would like, but it is not out of whack with what we're seeing in other municipal and school budgets. The two drivers of that change are special education, so we have more students with more needs, and we also have rising costs for those students who require the most need that we can provide them in out-of-district placements. So that increase is about $800,000. The other increase that's driving this is in facilities and maintenance. That budget is up 10%, almost 11%, $391,000. And that is simply starting to take care of some facilities things that we've not really been taken care of and being proactive. Got a lot of turnover in that position as well, and so we're hopeful to be able to sort of set ourselves on a path to making some good investments to keep all of our facilities in good shape. So what that looks like in terms of where we're spending our money. Everything in green, so this is those same numbers I just showed you, just in a pie chart to give you a visual. Everything in green is what's happening in the schools. So regular instruction is, when you get to warrant Article 1, regular instruction has to do with what's happening in first grade in Leeds, second grade in Turner, like what's happening in the classrooms that kids are in every day. The second biggest chunk is special education, those supports we provide those students who have additional needs that we need to provide so that they can be successful in school. The next two pieces are other instruction, which is co and extracurriculars in summer school at the high school, student and staff support, which is our guidance, our nurse, our library, our improvement in instruction, all those things that we directly invest into providing support for our students as well as making sure that our teachers have what they need. And then the last is school administration. That's 5.6% of the budget. Those are our principals, and we are not overstaffed in that. Turner schools the two Turner elementary schools are both close to 300 students, with right on the edge of whether or not a single principal can really handle a school that big. They will tell you that that's a possible thing to think about. But those are our principals and the staff that work in the office. The system administration is that sort of peach color. That's central office. That's the business office and the superintendent's office. We are 2.4%. We work really hard to keep that number small because the real show is what's happening in schools, and that's where our money needs to be spent. Transportation, facilities, we have a small amount in debt service. So this pie chart also is an indication of where the money is in terms of, is it going into stuff or to people? 80% of our budget is people. And that is the direct things that are happening with our kids every day, transporting them every day, and making sure the facilities they're in are clean and well kept for them to be comfortable. So just a couple of the challenges we faced, and these are no different than any I'm sure you're very familiar with in your own households. Utilities, electricity, fuel, liability, all those are increases that we have faced. Workman's compensation, purchasing a bus, salaries and health insurance. Our health insurance is up 6% this year. My understanding is in the district that that number has been lower, but this year it's finally been higher than normal. Salaries, everybody knows recruiting people to fill positions is incredibly difficult, and so we have to remain competitive to the best of our ability to hire and maintain people. Some of this I'll explain a little bit more, but we have lost a subsidy around the makeup of our student population. So all of Maine now has free and reduced lunch for all students, so nobody has to fill out any papers. The kids are getting lunch all the time. It's really good for our kids. They're being fed. Dave Roberts does an excellent job with food service. But by not having as many students designated as socioeconomically disadvantaged, we lose money in terms of what we get from the state. We are not the only school district facing that challenge. The state is working on it, but it has to work with the federal government as well. But that has definitely been a negative impact on our budget. We are seeing increased student needs, as well as, good news I guess, the three towns are worth more than they used to be according to the state. When that valuation goes up in the towns, the state is saying the towns can pay more for education. Those are things that we do not control as the people who run the district, but it does directly impact the subsidies we get from the state. So, other than staff and health insurance, we really have done very minimal work in terms of making sure that we can just keep the doors open with the programs we're running. Staff and insurance increases, salaries, that has been the biggest piece of the change. Last year, instructional coaches were put into every building. 3 of them were in grant funds. We've moved 2 into the budget and left 1 in grant funds. These people are essential in helping that huge number of brand new teachers that we have in the district and making sure that they are successful in working with kids. We also made the transition to one-to-one technology during the pandemic, and so those devices were purchased with grant funds. So we have now made the decision that those devices are an essential part of the education process. We were on our way doing that prior to the pandemic. The pandemic simply accelerated that. So now we have to start planning for that purchase as well. We've also moved some teacher positions around. Green, an elementary teacher at Green is moving to Turner Primary. It's an open position, so no staff members being transferred, but Turner Primary is growing. And a special education teacher from Green is moving to the high school. Again, it was an open position, so no staff members are being moved, but that was another due to the needs at the high school. And we did cut 2 teaching positions from the high school. 1 was open, but 1 was filled by a staff member. And so we were hoping, we want to make sure that we're not keeping staff members if the numbers that we have for students doesn't require it. We have had to add a small number of staff members to respond to student needs. So the middle school is going to be getting a bumper crop of 7th graders. It's a large group compared to all the other grades. So to reduce class sizes in science and social studies, the middle school will be moving a teacher who's currently running a literacy lab into science and social studies, and we're going to run that literacy lab with an Ed Tech 3. So that was the most cost-effective way to do that. We are going to add a special ed teacher at Turner Primary. Turner Primary is growing, but so are the needs of the students. And then 3 educational technicians are being added, 1 at both Turner elementary schools and at Leeds. We are also adding, this is going to be grant funded, but 3 secretaries to directly serve special ed teachers and help them with the enormous task of completing the compliance paperwork. Our hope is that this will help us to attract and retain staff. If you know a special ed teacher in your life, you know that this job is very difficult, and we are working hard to respond to that to try and make sure that job is doable. Really, there's only a couple things we're adding beyond the direct need to students. We are going to add a district school resource officer. It's a contract with the Androscoggin Sheriff's Department. This will help us increase our planning, emergency planning, and coordination with law enforcement. That is the most important thing we can do, is make sure law enforcement knows what our plans are and knows how to help us when we need to access them. To help school administration with other issues around attendance or things like that students may need, and then really increasing prevention and intervention services for our kids. That contract is $114,000, and so that is added into student and staff support warrant articles, where you'll see that. And then we are splitting the transportation director and maintenance director position. My understanding is it's been an ongoing conversation in this district, so we're just doing it. We need stability in both of those departments, and we need 2 people who can focus all their energy to make sure that both of those departments are running smoothly. So it's not a huge increase because we did eliminate 1 position to help to pay for that. So that's an increase of $33,000. So what's complicated about a school budget is the funding of schools is excessively complex. So let me just give you a couple of highlights. The ED 279, that's the form that gives us like all the magic numbers from the state about how much we're going to get. And it's incredibly complex in terms of how they calculate it. But the most important number is the number of students you have. We got an increase in our subsidy this year of $243,000. That covers the increase in our health insurance. That's it. Any other increase we found that we have to meet is really something that is now a local responsibility. So that 243 is good news, but that is about what the health insurance increase was for us this year across the board. So it's really important for people to recognize that, because while the budget's up only 7.3%, the local side is up 13%. So it's not a one-to-one match, and that's one of the main reasons for that. The other main reason is that we've because we have fewer students who are designated socioeconomically disadvantaged, the opportunity for us to get an additional $359,000 in subsidy was lost. So it wasn't there to begin with, but if our numbers had been different, they held our numbers during the pandemic at the pre-pandemic level, so we didn't see that cliff during the pandemic, but the cliff came this year. And so that is another opportunity where we didn't get additional subsidy. And then finally, the valuations of the three towns, because they're up $69 million, the state is saying, for you to get the $16,700,000 that we're going to give you, this towns must pay this amount of money. So that required local contribution is not something that we have anything to do with. That is the agreement that is made between the state legislature and the EPS formula and the town and the districts. So the local contribution, even if we've had a far lower number of an increase, was still going to be up $339,000. So I think it's really important. Those things are complex, and the budget formula is complex, but those are really big drivers of why those changes that we're seeing. So the budget, as I said, again, these are really small, but this document is in your budget book. The budget's increased by 7.36%. That's $2,226 and some more. That is up from last year. And the big change is that increase to the local. So everything else that went up for us, the only place to go for that additional funds is to the local. We did remove a significant amount of money into grant funds. We removed $220,000 into our Finer ESSER grant. 205, sorry, thank you. All professional development has been removed, and that's all coming out of grant funds. So we've accessed as much grant funds as we possibly can, but there is a limit to that. So that's what I've got for information. Just a reminder, after tonight, the referendum vote is on May 18th at the town offices from 1 to 7. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to open nominations for a moderator. Each nomination will require a second, and a motion to cease nominations will be entertained and in order as soon as nominations are made. Are there any nominations for moderator?
Nominated for the blue beat.
Evan. Who has a second? Thank you. Is there a motion to cease nominations?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, we have to vote to cease nominations, right? All those in favor of ceasing nominations? Great. Okay, so to elect the nominator needs to be elected by a minimum of 2 written ballots. Those residents wishing to cast your ballot may do so now. Two were, I think 2 of them were. Okay, I was like, I only saw one go in. I thought this was okay, we have 2 ballots. Okay, I'm going to I wonder what's going to happen. Clint Boothby, you're the winner. On me as moderator of this annual district meeting.
Duties incumbent on me as moderator of this annual district meeting,
According to the Constitution and the laws of the state.
according to the Constitution and laws of the state,
And that I will support the Constitution of the United States and that of this state.
and I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state,
So long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof.
So help me God. Congratulations. Okay.
Now we need ballot clerks. going to swear in the ballot. So, be a short break. Okay, our first piece of business this evening, it is possible during the course of this meeting, now that the official meeting has started, that we may need to hear from a district employee who is not a resident or voter in the district. And in order to do that, we need the permission of the body politic, you, because unless you're a citizen and here as a registered voter, you can't address the meeting. So typically, we do this by unanimous consent. And so I will ask, does anyone object to the following individuals if we need to call upon them speaking? And those names are, and I'm going to butcher some of these, and I apologize ahead of time. Brian Brito, Rebecca Drysdale, Kim Fuller, Danielle Harris, Kristen Levesque, Kerry Med, Doug Parker, and Dave Roberts. Any objection to any of those people speaking if we need to call on them? All right, we will consider that by unanimous consent. Okay, we'll begin going down through the warrant. And the way this works is I will read off the article. I will then ask for a motion in a second. That will open the floor for debate. We will then hear any questions, debate, anything anyone has to say about the article. Once we accomplish that, we'll ask for a vote. When you vote, I think you have cards that you can hold up to indicate that your voting position. That'll help us count the votes. If they're close, I'm going to ask the voting ballot clerks to help me count them. If they're not, we'll just keep on moving on. So, to begin, Article 1, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for regular instruction. The school board recommends $12,458,588.15. Is there a motion?
No.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Comments, questions, discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion, please raise your card. And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 2, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for special education, and the school board recommends $7,558,005.30. Is there a motion?
No.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Got a second? Comments, questions, discussion? Debate? Editorial comments? I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 3, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for career and technical education. The school board recommends $0. I know that in the past, folks have asked questions about that. It's because the money is raised in a different way to fund that, and that's why the school board recommends $0. Is there a motion?
Yep.
A motion, second? Got a second? Comments or questions? Hearing no debate. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? The motion carries. Article 4, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for other instruction. The school board recommends $602,989.33. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Is there a second? Second. Comments or questions? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 5, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for student and staff support. The school board recommends $2,568,053.77. Is there a motion? A motion? Is there a second? And I have a second. Comments or questions? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 6, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for system administration. The school board recommends $774,848.19. Is there a motion? A motion? A second? Comments or questions? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? The motion carries. Sorry, I missed your question. Article 7, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for school administration. The school board recommends $1,832,488.11. Is there a motion? A motion? And there's a second. Comments or questions? The person who made the motion, do we need a name? Thank you, sir. Comments or questions? Seeing and hearing none, those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? The motion carries. Article 8, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for transportation in buses. The school board recommends $2,392,344.04. Is there a motion? A motion? We have a second. We have a second. Comments or questions? Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? The motion carries. Article 9, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for facilities maintenance. The school board recommends $3,957,637.07. Is there a motion? A motion, a second, a second. Comments or questions, discussion on this? Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 10, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for debt service and other commitments. The school board recommends $285,432. Is there a motion? I have a motion. I have a second. Comments or questions? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? The motion carries. Article 11, to see what sum the district will be authorized to expend for all other expenditures. The school board recommends $63,880. Is there a motion? A motion, second, second. Comments or questions? Hearing none, those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. This is a long one, and I gotta read the whole thing, so bear with me. Article 12, to see what sum the district will appropriate for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12 as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and to see what sum the district will raise and assess each municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20-A, Section 15688. Recommendations are as follows, and I'm going to read the total appropriated by municipality, then I'll read the total raised by municipality. Total appropriated for the town of Green, $7,700,998.01. For the town of Leeds, $4,820,226.86. Sorry. The town of Turner, $12,185,217.25 for a total appropriated sum of $24,706,442.12. Now the total raised, again, this is by municipality. So if you read across, you can see what was appropriated and now what's going to be raised. For the town of Green, $2,718,648.50. For the town of Leeds, $1,492,857.83. For the town of Turner, $3,862,309.33 for a total amount raised of $8,073,815.66. The explanation: the district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, is the amount of money determined by state law to be the minimum amount that the district must raise and assess in order to receive the full amount of state dollars. Is there a motion? There's a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. Comments, questions, discussion? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Excuse me. Article 13. To see what sum the district will raise and appropriate for the annual payments on debt service previously approved by the district voters for non-state funded school construction projects or non-state funded portions of school construction projects, in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, and the school board recommends $285,432. Is there a motion? Motion, second. And there's an explanation, and that is that the non-state funded debt service is the amount of money needed for the annual payments on the district's long-term debt for major capital school construction projects that are not approved for state subsidy. Bonding of this long-term debt was previously approved by the voters. Comments or questions on this one? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. This one requires a break in the action because we've got to vote on this by written ballot. So I'm going to read it, get a motion in a second, get it on the floor, we'll have any discussion, and then they're going to vote by written ballot. Deposit the written ballots over there in the box. Article 14, to see what sum the district will raise and appropriate in additional local funds. And the recommendation is $6,576,327, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by $6,576,237, as required to fund the budget recommended by the school board. The school board recommends $6,576,327. I'm reading this, so bear with me, folks, which exceeds the state's essential programs and services allocation model by, once again, $6,576,327. The school board gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and services funding model. The district costs are not fully funded in the essential programs and services funding model. These items include, but are not limited to, advanced placement courses, co- and extracurricular costs, technology coordinator, maintenance and operation of the costs of our own sewer treatment plant, and inadequate special education funding, including the high cost of out-of-district placements. Additional explanation, the local funds are those locally raised over and above the district's local contribution to the total cost of funding public education, kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and the local amounts raised for the annual payment on non-state funded debt service that will help achieve the district budget for educational programs. Do we have a motion? Got a motion. Do I have a second? Got a second. Okay, comments or questions or discussion? Okay, this requires a written ballot, so if you want to vote on this, the place to deposit your written ballot is right over there. vote for Article 14 is 83 yea, 9 nay. There were 2 void ballots, or 2 ballots that were either yea or nay. Yes, the number is 83 yea, 9 nay, and 2 that were blank. So the motion, article carries. Article 15, to see what sum the district will authorize the school board to expend for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2023, ending June 30, 2024, from the district's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, local funds for non-state funded school construction, debt services, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statute Title 20-A, Section 15-690, unexpended balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of school, and the school board recommends $32,494,266. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Comments, questions, or discussion? Yes.
My understanding is this is between a 7 to 8% increase from the previous year. I'd like to know if there's any clarification. Has there been a 7 to 8% increase in academic achievement performance documented by our students this past year?
Anyone address that question? So the answer that I'm hearing is that we don't have the end of this year's school results, so we don't know what increase in academic year over year would be at this point in academic achievement. I believe that was your question. So the answer is I think that the district doesn't know that answer at this time. Other comments or questions? Yes.
So this is a little bit under 8% increase over last year. If you listen to the federal government, the rate of inflation for the past year was like 5%. If you listen to Forbes magazine or some other financial media outlets, it's closer to 8%. That's right around 8%. Which means that we came in a little bit under that figure. Which in very practical mathematical terms means that this year, the buying power of the dollars that we're asking to be spent is a little bit less than what was approved last year. It seems to me to be a painful number. I'm in a town that's going to get hit hard by this, and yet it seems a reasonable number to me, given the real rate of inflation.
Any other comments? Or questions? Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 16. To see if the district will appropriate $397,944.11 for adult education and raise $176,460 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional, incidental, or miscellaneous receipts in the interest and for the well-being of the adult education program. The school board recommends a yes vote. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? Several seconds. Comments or questions on this one? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 17 authorizes the expenditure of grants and other receipts. In addition to amounts approved in the preceding articles, shall the school board be authorized to expend such sums as may be received from federal or state grants or programs or other sources during the fiscal year for school and other programs purposes, provided that such grants, programs, or other sources do not require the expenditure of other funds not previously appropriated. Once again, the school board recommends a yes vote. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? A second. Comments or questions on this? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? And the motion carries. Article 18 authorizes a transfer to and expenditures from the Capital Reserve Fund. Article 18, shall the school board be authorized to transfer $200,000 from the available fund balances at the end of the 2022-2023 fiscal year to the Capital Reserve Fund and to expend from this reserve fund as determined by the school board during the upcoming year. Again, the school board recommends a yes vote. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? And a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? The motion carries. Article 19 establishes a technology reserve fund and authorizes a transfer to and expenditures from the Technology Reserve Fund. Article 19, shall the school board be authorized to establish a technology reserve fund for acquiring computers, office equipment, and related equipment, accessories, peripherals, and software to transfer $100,000 from available fund balances at the end of 2022-2023 fiscal year to this reserve fund and to expend from this reserve fund as determined by the school board during the upcoming school year. And once again, the school board recommends a yes vote. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second? I have a second. Comments or questions? Seeing none, those in favor of the motion? And those opposed? Motion carries. Article 20 authorizes transfers among cost centers. Article 20, shall the school board be authorized to transfer amounts exceeding 5% of the total appropriation for any cost center to another cost center or among other cost centers for the 2023-2024 fiscal year, provided that the transfers not be permitted to increase the authorized total school budget. And the school board recommends a yes vote. Is there a motion? I have a motion. Second. Comments or questions? Seeing none. Those in favor of the motion? Those opposed? Motion carries. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all the business that can come before this meeting tonight. Thank you for your participation, and I would declare us adjourned.
Well, we got the birds. The lizards. One was really old. They got birds.
Brandon Gallo. Welcome everyone to the 17th regular board meeting of the Board of Directors of the School Administrative District number 52. We are going to start the meeting with a pledge of allegiance led by our own captain. They are approved by unanimous consent. And let's get into our next business, which is public comment. I just want to say something briefly here. Last time you probably heard me recite the entire public comment policy, prepared somewhat of an abbreviated version here. And I just want to explain that our board meetings are conducted for the purpose of carrying out the official business of our schools. It is important to note that the meetings of the board are open to the public. However, they are not public forums. At each full meeting of the board, time is allocated to provide opportunities for citizens and employees to express opinions and concerns related to matters under consideration by the board. These comments shall be within the guidelines set forth in policy BEDH, which is public participation in board meetings. Copies of that policy are available right here. We have several copies if folks need them. They're also available on our website. I'd like to highlight the following from this policy, and that is that the chair is responsible for recognizing all speakers. We ask that speakers identify themselves by sharing their name and their town of residence, and each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes to express their views. Speakers should direct all comments to the board, but specifically to me, the board chair. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to the opinions of public that relate to school and education matters. It is not intended to be a conversation or a debate of issues. We know that school-related issues can be emotional, but we ask that civility is maintained. We will not permit profanity, gossip, defamatory comments, shouting at one another, or comments that disparage or attack individuals or groups. The board is faced with many important issues, and for the sake of efficiency, the board really discourages the duplication or repetition of comments. The board will not permit complaints or allegations against staff members. We certainly care about these concerns, but they are personnel matters, which the board is not permitted to hear in public. If there are complaints against staff, these will be handled appropriately through our complaint policy KE. Just to reiterate, this is just a highlight of key points. Please refer to the policy BEDH for a complete description of our public participation policy. So with that, do we have anyone who would like to see us? Please stand up and recognize yourself.
Christian Nicholas from Green. As policy IJJ is being sent to committee for review, I will point out some discrepancies for the committee's attention. In the challenge portion of this policy, it clearly states that the complainant must discuss their concern first with the person providing the material in question. Discuss can mean to talk about something or to talk or write about a topic in detail, taking into account different ideas and opinions. The discussion can be an oral conversation, but it can also be a written one as well. Yet a complainant is coerced into a meeting with the provider of the challenged book, something this policy to the letter never stipulates. This point becomes critical when seen in the context of the book challenge process. Accessing shared data banks of privately obtained public records secured through FOIAs, parents and stakeholders are amassing a larger picture on what exactly is happening inside the public schools outside of public view. In the case of IJJ, after the complainant discusses the volume in question with its procurer, a written account is generated documenting the discussion from the book providers, not the complainant's point of view. The complainant's views, quotes, etc. are not given record, nor necessarily represented other than through the vehicle of the book's provider. Other than the actual challenge form, there is a convenient lack of paper trail, and this, in my opinion, is totally purposeful. Remember, all policy originates with the vetted policy writers, Maine School Board Management, Maine School Board Association, or any of the unelected bureaucratic masterminds. These are professional policymakers. They do not make mistakes. If policy IJJ is a policy replete with empty process, it is so by design, intended to give parents the hollow honor of having an unrecorded discussion and filling out a form, achieving little more than superficial appeasement. The most obvious flaw is the challenge form itself, where the complainant is asked to expound upon and delve into detail on that which they object. Be specific, cite pages and scenes, says the form, yet IJJ securely tasks the committee to not look at passages or portions pulled out of context, which is never defined. And further, if any volume should be removed, the lawyers will always argue about the selective importance of certain constitutional rights, but never others. But hidden within IJJ are still more gems. The review panel is chosen by administrators and composed of administrators, save one member of the public who is not the complainant nor chosen by them. And one of the persons on the committee is the provider of the book themselves, asked to judge their own decisions. IJJ is a convenient substrate designed to control and funnel off parental voices while maintaining the appearance of concern and action, but insulating against real result. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else wishing to stand up?
New child, Lee, I want to thank you guys for all that you do. I want to remind you that taking place earlier, we all voted as a public, for you guys to spend our money. As a stakeholder, as a taxpayer, I don't mind. How much more money do you need? My property tax is going up, that's fine, I'll pay it. For good education for our children, keep them safe, have resource officers, I'll pay more. But I'd like something in return. I just like the fact that IJJ is being reviewed. And I just think that it should curtail to the internet policy on the prohibition of it. If you can't look at it on the internet, you shouldn't be able to look at it in the library. There is concerning material in these books, sex acts and whatnot, and that's not free speech for minors. It's not protected speech for minors. It's disgusting, and if I'm a hypocrite because I don't want sexual books in school, then so be it. But that's all I want. That's all I ask for. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak?
Rachel Madison from Turner. Stephen's a senior, and I teach at the high school. And I just want to share with you what we've been doing in class lately. So we've been learning about genetically modified organisms, and we got a sequence of bacteria. We got a sequence of DNA from a jellyfish that allows the jellyfish to bioluminesce. And then we expose the bacteria to the sequence of DNA, and then we heat shock the bacteria, so we heat it up and cool it off, and that makes the cell membrane a little more porous, so it's more apt to grab things from the environment. So it grabbed the piece of DNA that told it how to glow in the dark. And then we put the bacteria on petri dishes with arachidons, and the arachidons triggered the gene to actually become expressed, so the bacteria glowed in the dark. And it's pretty cool. It sounds like a lot of fun because using petri dishes and not getting loose, but scientists all over the world actually do this all the time for real life applications. Like there's literally dozens or hundreds of reasons why scientists might make things glow in the dark. So the kids got to have that experience. It was a lot of fun and it's really educational for them. And I had about 20 to 30 kids do it. It's super expensive though, so hopefully in the future I can have even more kids do it. That's
I saw another hand earlier.
Hi, I'm Alicia Soroy. I have 2 students in the Turner schools. I'm speaking tonight because I want to appeal to the board to stop allowing people to share excerpts from books at school board meetings. These excerpts are taken out of context, chosen for inflammatory content, and don't represent the purpose and intent of the writers of the books from which they are quoting. They're also taking away my right as a parent to choose which media my child is being exposed to. Teachers strive to provide their students with the skills needed to question text, analyze the author's purpose, and create an argument using relevant text to defend their position. The excerpts being shared at these meetings do not demonstrate those skills of thoughtful analysis, and thus do not model responsible use of quoting sources. the excerpts being shared at school board meetings are what contribute to the culture of fake news, and that they state assumptions based on misconstrued understanding of the words and ideas the writers of the text are trying to express. More problematic than allowing words and ideas to be taken out of context and spun into a narrative which serves the opinion of the few. When these excerpts are shared at school board meetings, my right as a parent to choose which media my children are being exposed to is taken away. It is problematic that children are having to be escorted out of the room when these excerpts are being shared, and it's problematic that I no longer feel comfortable to access school board meetings virtually when my children are present. No one is forcing children to read these books when they're in the library, but you are forcing my children to listen to inflammatory language with no context and no ability for me to prepare my children to question what they're hearing. Please stop allowing these excerpts to be shared at school board meetings. Parents have the right to choose which books their children can check out of the library. Let's extend that choice to school board meetings as well.
Anyone else?
Hi, Lisa Coburn. I'm from Turner. Both of my children have gone through the Turner school system. My daughter graduated in the class of 2021, and my son will be graduating next month. I'm speaking today in support of our wonderful educators that we have in our district. I am an educator. I've been an educator for over 32 years and currently work for the Auburn School Department. In my role, I have the opportunity to work with educators from across the country. And I just want you to know that we have some of the most amazing educators right here in our district. Our educators understand the importance that learners need to be feeling safe, accepted, and respected. Through their daily interactions with children, they just demonstrated that they're aware of the emotional well-being of a learner has a significant impact on learning. The neuroscience research has proven that emotions have a substantial impact on cognitive functions, which include attention, memory, reasoning, and problem-solving skills. If we want our children to learn, we must take into account their emotional well-being. Our educators are committed to their profession and participate in learning opportunities to improve their craft, all the while keeping the goal of educating our children at the center of our work. Many of our educators also lead or participate in activities outside of their school day and continue to be a positive influence. I am so thankful my children went to the school district, and I want all of those educators to know how much they are appreciated and honored to have been a part of my children's life.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Mike Hathaway, 56 Pearl Road in Turner, employee, parent, several other things. I'd like to publicly thank you guys on the Curriculum Policy Committee for inviting several stakeholders to the meeting today and attempt to spend so much needed time on the curriculum. The topics, standards, spacing, assessments, rubrics, vertical alignment, and gap identification will require a well-planned, coordinated effort. It was nice to, after I spoke a couple meetings ago, to pop open my email the next day and see a bunch of people invited to the meeting to discuss that. So I applaud you guys for that. You know, seeing the last meeting is tough, and I just want to remind the board that policy BCAE states that board members will at all times think of children first and base their decisions on how they will affect children in their education. There's a lot of political grandstanding that's going on with some of these things, and I'm not much of a political guy, but so you know, to put it simply, it really is my favorite, and I think it's a distraction. So I'm just asking you guys to focus on education. As an educator, it's hard to come to some of these and hear some of the things that you hear. Some are respectful, some aren't. It's been tough, and you know, I've lived in this district for a long time. I've worked here. I think 41 of my 48 years on earth have been here. My dad sat in that chair for about 30 years, so it means a lot to me. I just hope we can focus on doing what's right for kids. I want you guys to do that and remember that. So thank you.
Thank you. I could have sworn I saw some itchy hands a few minutes ago. Anyone else? Okay. Well, seeing none, we shall move on. sorry, I'm losing place of all my things. Yeah, we're moving on to communications. Actually, first, we're talking about, communications.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you very much.
So I just would like to report the following resignations. Dennis Goyette, Tripp Middle School Special Education Teacher, effective 6/16. Crystal Sear, Levitt Area High School General Education Ed Tech 3, end of the year as well. Anthony Crosby, Tripp Middle School Special Education Teacher, effective end of the year. Lauren King, Lead Central School 6th grade teacher, end of the year. I'd like to report a retirement. Cynthia Vayu, Tripp Middle School Special Education Teacher, retiring at the end of the year. Congratulations. And one transfer, Jennifer Groover, Lead Central School Grade 4, transferring to Tripp Middle School Foreign Language position to begin next school year.
Now, adjustments to the agenda. From our original agenda, we have removed item 8.1, which is the presentation by R.H.R. Smith on the fiscal year.
Yeah, so the person who did our audit no longer works for the company, so somebody else needs to come and do that audit, and they were not available tonight.
Okay. We have an addition of item 8.19, which is the board approval for the selection of the energy supplier, provider Angie through Atlas Energy for a 12-month term from November 23 to October 24. They're also removing agenda item 8.12. 8.12 is the board approval of Plant Transportation Building Committee recommendation for the bleacher bid. My expectation that's probably coming back at some point.
Yes.
We also were removing agenda items 8.15 and 8.16.
Executive session for negotiations, we don't need one.
Correct. And we are moving agenda item 8.19 before agenda item 8.17. That way we can get everything else before the executive session. And we also have one additional item to add. We'll call that item 8.20. Oh, excuse me.
Back in regards to whatever item was, the bleachers?
The bleachers, yes.
I do believe the PTB committee does have a recommendation moving forward, and it is a little bit time sensitive. So I guess I was curious why it was taken off.
Sorry, it should be 8.11, the foundation work should be removed, but 8.12 should be on the agenda.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Peter. So, we are reviewing bids for the bleachers, which 8.12 will remain, and 8.11, yes,
okay.
The bid for the foundation work is taken off.
Thank you.
Certainly, we'll need a foundation for those bleachers, so that will be coming back. Yes, the addition, I was just about to say, 5.7, Jessica has drafted a letter of support for our teachers, and we'll be adding that to the agenda as item 8.20, but we will also be moving it before 8.17 so that we can discuss it before the executive session. So, excuse me? No, there is one.
There's a separate, it's not negotiations, it's a different thing. Yep.
Yes. Yep. So, we're moving on to committee reports. The Finance Committee. Crystal.
Our next meeting is May 18th, 5:30 at Lead Central.
Okay.
That's all I got.
The Plant Transportation and Building Committee, our new chair, Kyle.
So we met today, or this evening. We looked at the senior performance contract agreement. We're going to be canceling that, which is good news, because that agreement was them to see how the savings that they had implemented, or their
Performance contract.
The performance contract, we're going to eliminate that, so that it'll actually save us money by doing so. We're still reviewing the automation system software upgrade options. So we're moving the table on that and continue reviewing it. Wastewater treatment update. We're looking to close the minimum tabling the review school walkthroughs. I'm sorry, I was tabling that. Reviews through the, of the schools, still continuing on, we're walking through, we still got four more walks. And then, great news is that we're looking at utilizing the grant money for the bleachers, and we're the recommendations was O'Brien and Sons, and it's actually the cheaper, but also it is actually the better of the two. And we're still reviewing the contract that's actually doing the concrete work. And then we're also looking, I guess there is a new bench that's going to be proposed for in front of the library. It's going to be Ron Caldwell, the grant bench proposal, which is being 100% funded by others.
Town attorney.
The county attorney.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Kyle. Yeah, a lot going on in PTB. Curriculum and policy, Jamie.
Yeah, we met tonight. As Mr. Hathaway had mentioned, we had a bunch of teachers come and they kind of talked to us about their curriculum work and how that's been going. They work really hard, and as somebody that's not in education, I was like, whew, that's a lot. So thank you for all you do. We also reviewed 2 policies that you guys will see next meeting for first readings. And Teresa is going to reach out to Atlas, which kind of works with our curriculum, and hopefully we will dive into that at our next meeting, which says June 1st, but we have conflicts of interest, so that is to be determined, and it will be posted on the website when that is changed.
Thank you, Jamie. Updates from the Tri-Town Education Association Teachers Negotiations. Jessica.
So, I'm losing track of time, but I think we met as a full team since our last board meeting, and things are moving along really nicely. We're really getting through our agenda items. I think we're really getting the flow of this process that we're using this year. And then we met again as just a negotiation team just on Tuesday in preparation for our next meeting, which is the following Tuesday.
Okay. Student representative report. Sydney.
This week is Teacher Appreciation Week, so all week students have been writing a bunch of cards that teachers have received. Also, juniors and seniors have been taking AP tests, so that'll continue.
Great. Good luck on the AP tests, everyone. We do not have any administrator reports tonight. We do have one from the assistant superintendent.
Yes, and I just need to locate it because I had it.
It's all right. Maybe it's lost in my papers here. That happens.
Yeah, so I'm going to, okay, here. I'll use the electronic version. I can't have my paper version. Okay, so last Tuesday, I attended Understanding the Impact of Student-Centered Coaching at the University of Maine. Our instructional coaches, all 6 of them attended, and Kristen Levesque from Turner Elementary School was also able to attend. On Wednesday of last week, we hosted a coaching lab with Diane Sweeney, who is the author of several books around student-centered coaching, which is the model we use. That was a day for our instructional coaches, for me, Jana, and Kristen were able to join us for half a day, and that was very exciting for us. She's actually coming back in September, and we'll have 2 full days of coaching labs, so our remaining 4 coaches will be able to work with her. So all 6 will work with her. And then our district is also hosting a training session for people who have been involved with student-centered coaching to help them learn how to facilitate coaching labs. So that's exciting. I will participate in that. The testing window for the Maine 3-year assessment is now open. Our students in in grades 3 through 8 and 10 are going to participate in these for reading and math. And I've begun attending staff meetings at each school to provide a brief overview of the curriculum platform Atlas that we will be using. Jamie mentioned that we will be using that next year for our curriculum work. And applications for summer stipend work are now open, so that's very exciting. That's what I have.
Thank you, Teresa. Now for the superintendent report, Gary.
So 2 things. One, we passed our budget at the budget meeting, so congratulations, everybody. And
Hot off the press.
yeah, right? So I don't really have a much longer report because that kind of counted for it, but I did want to just let the board know, and I think at the finance committee, we discussed the phone, the changes in the phone system, and we had originally decided to pause that, but we're able to keep our phone numbers, so we're moving forward.
Okay. That's good. Reports. Moving on to old business, of which we have none for the agenda, so we'll move straight into new business. Again, we've removed 8.1, so we're into 8.2, which is to act on the reappointment of the following for the 2023-2024 school year. 821, which is probationary contract teachers, 2nd year, and 822, first continuing contract teachers, 3rd year. So I will entertain a motion to act to reappoint these contracts. Is there a second? Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Looks like it's unanimous. All opposed? Abstaining? Okay. No problem. Couple 2 weeks
Wait, so
abstentions.
both, just so for the minutes, you're both abstaining?
No, for.
Oh, you're, okay.
Okay. Abstention from Kyle. Okay. The next item is the second reading and adoption of revised policy EA, bus driver examination. I'll entertain a motion for that adoption.
So moved.
Jamie. Okay. Second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'd love an explanation of any of the changes, if somebody would like to review it.
Anyone from the policy committee like to step forward here?
Yeah, absolutely. So Dave Coburn went over this as well. It was just a change. We updated everything as a change in Maine state law, but also we added part 2 for the other employees, since we have van drivers and people that are not just bus drivers.
Thank you.
Any other points, discussion? Someone's calling me Kyle, but it looked like an itchy nose. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. The second reading and adoption of policy IIB, pre-K class size and composition. Is there a motion?
Second.
Crystal and Peter. Any discussion? Thoughts? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Appears to be unanimous. Second reading and adoption of revised policy IK, academic achievement. Is there a motion?
Second.
And a second, by Peter. Any discussion? Comments? Yes, Peter.
That's what I was reading earlier. I apologize, because a lot of changes were here. Basically, we really, did we get a quick overview of?
Sure.
We went from 4 little sentences to a full page. There's the background, the meaning.
So we have an explanation forthwith from the policy.
So one of the things, if you look back at the date it was last reviewed, it was 2013. So we updated
Being 10 years old,
Age is not a deterrent.
that is true, we looked at the recommended policies from main school management and made it more in line with that.
I'm not sure how stickler you are.
Go ahead.
My only question was, probably it isn't, but just reading it quickly, I'm looking at parental notification. It almost seems, for the most part, it hasn't changed, but it does seem that it's not as directed to communicate with the parents about certain issues or in general, and that's just came up as a concern. I was trying to read to make sure it just wasn't change of wording, and it's still the same, but it doesn't quite seem the same.
Right, so it says to be informed regularly at least 4 times a year in the old paragraph, in the old policy.
Yep.
We are now going to have trimesters for grades K through 8, pre-K, K through 8, so that wouldn't have fit there.
Yep.
And I think that what we discussed at policy is that an expectation for teachers is that they are communicating with parents. Parents also have the access to utilize Power School, particularly at the middle and high school, to check their students' grades. And I think it was just that, are you talking specifically under communicating information concerning student achievement? Those 3 paragraphs?
B in particular doesn't seem to be addressed anymore.
So at the top under communicating information, it says teachers will provide students and parents with timely information concerning student performance and, if applicable, the need for the student to participate in remediation or any additional instruction. So we felt like that essentially took the place of B.
Any other thoughts or comments about this policy? Mr. Shostak?
I make a motion to amend the title of the policy to put the word academic back in there. So it reads evaluation of student academic achievement.
Is there a second for that motion? Second. Kyle, discussion around the amendment. Anyone have any thoughts?
We talked about this in committee as well, and we have students in our district that are in life skills classes, and they're not based on solely academic achievement. A lot of children are just there, and we are grading them based on their life achievements. So this was more in line with including every student in the district, even those that may not be there for academic achievement only. That's what we talked about in committee.
Any other thoughts around this amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment to alter the title? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Tammy. And those opposed? It was Peter, Kyle, Anthony, and Tammy, and those opposed. 4, and there's 5 opposed. The amendment fails. Continuing to discuss the original motion, which was the adoption of the policy. Any other thoughts or comments? Seeing none. All those in favor of the policy? Those opposed? 3 opposed. The motion passes. Moving on. Item 8.6, second reading and adoption of revised policy ILA, student testing. Is there a motion for this? Crystal, a second for Kyle. Any discussion? I don't see any discussion. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? 3 One vote, and we have 2 abstentions. The motion passes. 8.7, second reading and adoption of revised policy JLCEA, Student with Food Allergies and Regulations, JLCEA-R, Students with Food Allergies Regulations. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Jamie, a second? Kyle, any discussion about this motion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Looks like it passed unanimously. Item 8.8, approval of the following job descriptions. Transportation Director, Facilities Director, Special Education Office Support Assistant. So this is hopefully a motion for approval of all 3 of these. Is there a motion on the floor? Crystal. Is there a second? And Tammy. So is there any discussion around these job descriptions? That is Transportation Director, Facilities Director, and Special Education Office Support Assistant. Not seeing any discussion. All those in favor? It's unanimous. 8.9, approval of the February operating and expenditure reports. Is there a motion? Crystal. And a second by Peter. Any discussion around the expenditures? Seeing none. All those in favor? Unanimous. Moving on, 8.10, board approval of the Plant Transportation Building Committee recommendation, approval of amendment for disposal field additional explorations. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Peter, seconded by Kyle. Any discussion? I'd imagine an explanation from PTB would be helpful here. Anyone want to volunteer?
We had money earmarked for our wastewater treatment plant, and some of the things that we thought we were going to do were proven that we could not do them. And so our next best move forward requires some additional site testing, which is outside the amount of money that we have earmarked. So we're bringing to the board the recommendation that we allocate additional monies for this additional site testing.
Thank you. Any further thoughts, comments, discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Appears unanimous. The motion passes. 8.11 has been deleted. Foundation. 8.12, though, is on the table. The board approval of Plant Transportation Building Committee recommendation bid for the bleachers. Is there a motion? Peter, second. Jessica. Okay. Discussion around the bleachers. Yes.
I want to remind everybody that this project is to make sure that the bleachers that kids can access to watch games will make them handicap accessible, and they're being paid all out of grant funds, not from the budget that was just passed in the room. Just want to make sure that's clear, because it would be a very visible project. Some people may wonder.
Jessica.
So you stole all of our thunder. Giving the presentation.
You're not even on PTV.
No, I just very worried about that. Very worried about the perception.
So Kyle has some of the information about the 2 vendors that were brought forward, but basically we put out 3 bids. 2 people gave us bids back. If you want to kind of delve a little bit more into that.
Yeah, so they were really close bids. And forgive me, I think it was Tim Galvin and O'Brien and Sons. And they were within a few $1,000 of us getting, not including the concrete foundation for the bleachers. O'Brien and Sons came preferred due to the fact that Dave recommends them, and we're supporting that because it seems like a good idea.
And they can start sooner, is what we were told.
Sure.
It'll
Missed that.
No, it's important, I think,
It
because
is.
we have
We're
some
trying to get this
students-
done before the football games
Yeah.
come in the fall, so that's the hope.
And we have existing students that would utilize it. Having ADA accessibility is important, certainly. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Appears unanimous. Item 813, approval of Creality 3D printer donation. Is there a motion?
Second.
Crystal, Peter, any discussion? No discussion. Oh, Jessica.
Sorry, I was just trying to read real quick before I ask the question, because maybe it's in here, but where are they going to be used?
It's a good question. Do we have actually Molly here? No.
I was just curious, like, what school system they might be.
Mr. Sear, would you like to provide some?
So I don't blow people's ears off. So I think right now we've decided that they would be used at TPS and LCS among the elementary schools. Those are the only buildings right now that do not have two. They have one, so that would give us a second. And as somebody who right now has about 120 print jobs in the queue, this will be very helpful, so thank you.
Very good. Now we need donation of plastic for the printer.
Yes.
Next. Yes, Kyle.
What kind of things are going to be printed off of this?
What's that?
What kind of things are going to be printed off of this? Like, is it is it a bigger unit, or is it?
These ones are a little bit larger than the ones that we have. The ones that we have for the most part are about 5.5 all around dimensions. I believe these beds are 12-inch all around, so that definitely gives a lot more room for any larger projects that we might have kids doing.
Great. I'm not familiar with how it works, but
3D printing, very cool. All right, any other discussion points here? All right, those in favor? Looks like it is unanimous. Item 814, board approval of professional learning community support system, PLCSS. Chairperson and assistant superintendent recommendation for revised PLCSS plan for teacher certification, recertification. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Peter, and second, Crystal. Okay. Any discussion? Professional learning community support system. I wouldn't mind. Yeah. Anyone want to give a brief on that?
Sure, I can try. So our district has a PLCSS committee which helps teachers become recertified. And Kelly Bean, who is also here, is the chair of that committee. And she really should get the most credit for this work. Our book was very outdated, 2014, 12, 2009. It was more than 10 years old. And it did not match current law and included a bunch of stuff that didn't need to be in there. So that's why it has now been updated, and Amy Pelletier will be able to use this during her onboarding of new teachers.
Good.
And this is something all school districts are required to have, a recertification committee.
And something that complies with law. So that's very good. Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Seeing none. All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. We are deleted the executive session 815 to discuss the teacher negotiations, as well as 816, which is associated action as warranted. What comes next is actually 819, going out of our numerical order, as we described at the beginning. This is the board approval of the selection of the energy supply provider, ENGIE through Atlas Energy, for a 12-month term from November 2023 to October 2024 at $8.9,835 per kilowatt hour. Am I pronouncing Angie through Atlas correctly? Does anyone know?
Your guess is as good as mine.
I didn't know if there's a typo here. Yeah. NG through Atlas? Energy. Anyway, a motion for this. Crystal, a second?
Second.
It was Peter, sorry. And any discussion? Yes, go ahead.
Is somebody going to tell us?
I assume it's a recommendation from,
So at our last finance committee meeting, we had discussed sticking with Constellation Energy based on the rates remaining within 0.03 cents of each other, just for ease of migration into the CMP bills. Unfortunately, not unfortunately, the rates changed, and NG provided a rate that is 1.45 cents per kilowatt hour cheaper than any of the other options. Specifically Constellation Energy, which really works out to a great savings for the district. So I think that it would be in our best interest to sign up just for a one-year term as discussed in the Finance Committee because of the volatility of the market, to give this new company a chance and see how it goes. But it's the lowest rate available right now.
yeah, 1.3 cents is quite good.
Can you explain what is NG, and I just am clueless on these energy groups.
So NG is just the provider, the supplier of the energy through Atlas Retail Energy, who is like a broker. So like an insurance broker is getting the prices for us from these different companies. And I'm sure that they're getting a percentage as well, but I'm assured that all fees are in that per kilowatt hour rate.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other comments, thoughts on this one? Yeah. All those in favor? Appears unanimous. Now, 819 to 820, which is the letter. As everyone is aware, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. And all of us board members were emailed a letter from Jessica earlier in the week. I believe the motion, the item on the table is to sign this letter. Do I have a motion for signing this letter? Yes. Let Jessica. Let's make the motion. Danny, are you second? Okay. Any discussion around the letter? Yes.
I would offer discussion. I know last year we as a board put something in the Country Courier as thanks to our teachers and our teaching staff, and I think that was really well received. And in lieu of doing that this year, I thought we could draft a letter as a board and still disperse that to our team so that they could hear from us directly. So that was kind of the thought.
Thank you, Jessica. Mr. Shasta, yes.
Will it be posted publicly again?
It's a good question. I believe we would be posting it publicly, but we haven't really, I guess, decided exactly how
All I was thinking it was going to get emailed out, and
Yeah, I mean, my personal thought, without having talked to anybody else about it, was that we would email it to all RSU 52, but I would certainly be open to public posting if you wanted, or if we wanted to discuss putting it like on the website or something like that.
Facebook and email.
Yeah, I think it's a good letter, and I think it should be shared.
Very good. Okay. Let's make sure we sign this then. I'll let you first vote on it. All those in favor of signing the letter? Okay, very good. Unanimous support. Because we're moving into our next item is an executive session, it'd be nice to sign this now before we can sign it in there as well too. Yeah. So let's move on to executive session 817. Request for executive session to discuss the non-instructional salaried employees NISE negotiations pursuant to 1 MRSA 4056D. Is there a motion?